do you have a favorite fertility podcast?
No. Because I never listened to a podcast.
Hello, and welcome to a very special episode of This is Infertility. This is our year-end episode, the last episode of Season 6. And this time, we wanted to do something pretty different. We talked to a lot of doctors on our show and for our YouTube channel. So we thought it'd be fun to dedicate an episode to letting those doctors answer some of your burning questions. We went to a big doctor conference, booked a ton of doctors for sit-down interviews, and then we had some fun. And today, we're going to share everything with you. I'm Dan Bolger with Progeny, and this is Infertility. All right, we started with some simple true-false questions. These are the kinds of questions we get from our listeners and viewers all the time. I figured it would be tough on a doctor to really answer a true-false question, considering how nuanced everything can be. But this first one, well, they had no trouble. The question was, true or false? 40 is too old to get pregnant.
False.
Definitely false.
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 No, false.
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 False. That's absolutely false. 40 is not too old to have a baby.
False.
I would say false. We definitely have successful pregnancies at 40 and beyond. It's a bit more challenging, but it's definitely, you can be pregnant at 40.
Next up was another one that got a uniform response, only this time they were even more enthusiastic. The question was, does IVF lead to more twins?
False.
No, never, because we only transfer one.
Definitely false.
Oh, that would be definitely false. In fact, IVF these days, if it's done correctly with the support of a great staff and great clinicians that have the patient's interest at mind, that should almost always be singletons.
Yes, almost always singletons. I know one of them said never twins, but she was just making the point that with a single embryo transfer, the multiple rate is significantly low. So yes, twins can happen, but it's exceedingly rare. When we talk about that, people always ask a follow-up. But if we transfer only one embryo, aren't we reducing the chances that we'll get pregnant?
It seems like putting in 2 embryos should give you double the chance, but it really doesn't. It only increases your risk.
No, it's going to improve your chances of pregnancy and improve your chances of having a safe and healthy child.
It does not. It actually helps your odds of having a singleton pregnancy, which is the healthiest and safest pregnancy for both you and the baby.
People always think more is better, but ironically, more is not better. You get more babies if you transfer them one at a time. So, the science just supports it. More babies, less complications. It's just better all around. So that's an easy one.
Multiples have higher risk of miscarriage, of higher risk of preterm delivery, preterm labor, abnormal blood pressure problems that could lead to preterm delivery and labor, and diabetes. So the goal is to have one baby at a time. And if you're doing it with IVF, then you can just freeze the siblings and then in the future have the other children. But we certainly encourage single embryo transfer at RMA, and it has not impacted our pregnancy rates at all.
All right, the next question was a real tough one. What kind of music is best for patients in the waiting room?
Oh, best music to listen to in a waiting room.
Ooh.
I think I would actually like something a little bit more upbeat. I don't really want the elevator music.
Oh, I love elevator music. I'm a huge fan of, quiet rock.
I like classic rock, but you'll see people kind of tapping their foot, kind of sing along because the music's kind of, gets you excited. So.
Probably Americana or folk singer-songwriter, but, to each his own. You gotta do what you love.
So I've heard some other people's answers here, and some people say pump you up, and other people, I would say you need to do what's gonna help you with the next step. If you're feeling nervous or anxious about what you're, going in for a procedure, I would listen to calming music. If you're looking to get eggs and you're all pumped up, I think you need pump up music. But I think that fertility is kind of stressful, is very stressful for most people, and it can be very overwhelming, even coming to see your first initial consultation. And I think that it's helpful sometimes to have kind of calming, more spa-like music that can sort of help kind of calm your nerves.
Let's get to brass tacks. The most important question, on my mind anyway, what's your favorite fertility podcast?
This is Infertility by Progeny.
I love to say Progeny. It has a great fertility, and Shady Grove has a great podcast.
I mean, the Progeny podcast, of course.
There we go.
Am I supposed to say you?
No. All right. Of course, I was the one asking the questions, so they felt like they had to say our podcast is their favorite. But they also had plenty of others that they could recommend.
I actually love Natalie Crawford's podcast on fertility. You can find it on any major platform.
Oh, there's so many great podcasts. RMA of New York actually has its own podcast. That's the practice I work at, called Fertility Forward, and it's hosted by Dara Godfrey, who's a nutritionist, and Rena Gower, who is a licensed social worker.
Oh, I love Dr. Laura Shaheen's Baby or Bust podcast is great.
It's called Embodied. I did a piece with Embodied talking about men who have no ejaculated sperm and what we do for them and how we help them.
Well, beat infertility because I'm the medical contributor for that podcast for sure. But there's also a lot of other really great podcasts. I have to say I am enjoying Unexpecting by Tara Lipinski. I recently interviewed her on my Instagram. I like Baby or Bust with Laura Shaheen. As a Woman with Natalie Crawford. I think these are all fantastic resources for patients going through fertility.
My favorite fertility podcast is Inside Reproductive Health.
As a woman, my very good friend, Natalie Crawford, who's also one of my colleagues, I think does a really good job at encompassing not only the fertility world, but the world of what it's like in general, being a woman, whether you're trying to conceive or trying to be a mom or trying to be a career woman or whatever it is.
My favorite fertility podcast is coming soon. It's Fertility FM with Whitney Port.
Pregnant-ish.
I like Dr. Amy's podcast, The Egg Whisperer. I also do like the ASRM podcast.
No. Because I never listened to a podcast.
We did do one more true or false question, but we found that this one doesn't really work as a true or false question at all. It's way too nuanced. The question is true or false. Stress causes infertility.
True. False.
True.
True.
I don't think there's a right or wrong answer to that.
I think that is false. I think stress is a contributor to infertility, but I don't think it's its only cause.
Probably true, but I would argue that the institution of evidence-based medicine has thus far done not a great job of exploring that topic enough.
I think no, but I think it contributes to the experience that one has.
That's a little bit hard. And I say this like this. We do know that significant increased levels of stress can, at the same time telling a patient who's already stressed with infertility to not be stressed, causes more stress. So it's a little bit of a catch-22, but doing things that can help reduce stress can definitely be helpful.
Stress is stress, but it's different for each person. So, it's easier said and then done to say to reduce your stress level, but whatever you can do to reduce it and eliminate stressors from your life, like maybe not talking to your family or friends about it if they're not helpful, are ways to get rid of it. Is one strategy to reduce your stress.
Sort of true. Stress itself doesn't cause infertility, but can be one of the factors. So it's always good to try to reduce stress as much as possible with yoga, acupuncture, other means, whatever helps the patient. But stress doesn't necessarily specifically cause infertility.
New stress can cause infertility. So if you live a highly stressful life, then your body's already accustomed and you don't have excess cortisol being released. If you have new stress, like your house is on fire, or you're deciding you're going to start running a marathon and you've never exercised before, then yes, you can increase your cortisol level and there is some potential impact on your ability to conceive.
There's definitely a mind-body connection to conceiving, but it's very hard to quantify. But don't tell anyone to relax. That's the last thing you want to tell your patient.
Okay, so lots of different answers there, but I don't think that they were even really disagreeing. I think it's just not a good true or false question. Seems like it boils down to the idea that there is a relationship between stress and infertility, but if you stress out about it, well, that's not going to help. And ultimately, stress is very likely not the main driver of infertility. The next question was a lot easier. It's a yes or no question. Should employers offer their employees fertility and family building benefits?
Yes.
100%. Most definitely.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes.
100%.
Absolutely. All employers should.
Employers should absolutely cover benefits. I think that there are so many people and my own personal patients who will leave jobs because their employers do not cover benefits and they will switch to an employer who has better benefits.
think there is pretty good data now that patients are really looking for this. I think it's very helpful in retaining your employees and also in employee job satisfaction. And I actually think some patients are, searching out employers specifically for this. So I really think you can recruit the cream of the crop.
Employers should definitely offer fertility and family building benefits. I believe it's everybody's right to have the opportunity to build a family.
Absolutely. If you want good people and you want them to be happy and you want them to stay with your company and be productive, then you do have to support their fertility journeys. That's a really important thing, whether it be fertility preservation because they're not ready to have a family or having a family.
Absolutely. That's easy. It's a medical problem. So if you're providing medical coverage, that is a medical diagnosis, and it should be taken care of that way and treated that way.
Honestly, it takes the pressure, the financial burden of infertility. It's widespread in this country. It affects everyone. So I think employers offering the benefit is a huge deal and a game changer. It allows us as clinicians to provide service to as many people as possible and help a lot of people with their family building plans.
This is a medical condition and should be treated like any other condition. We wouldn't tell someone with any other medical condition that they don't deserve to have treatment. I feel the same way here. Everyone deserves to have access to the highest quality of care and shouldn't be a barrier to entry. So whether it comes from employers or elsewhere, I think really there should be, you should have access to care however it comes.
Yes, it's important for people to have access to the care that they need. And the good news is that this is something that employers are offering more and more as the years go by. But they aren't likely to do it if nobody's asking about it. So if you work at a place that doesn't cover fertility, you might be the spark needed to help make that change. And if you want help for how to talk to leadership or HR about this, we have resources for you at progeny.com/talk-to-HR. Okay, last one, and it's a genuinely important one, more important than podcasts or music in the waiting room, I would say. We asked each doctor the same question. What do you say to patients when the going gets tough?
Celebrate the wins, even when they're small.
To please hang in there, we're in it with you, and we're going to do our best to get you to that successful pregnancy.
Stay positive, understanding the challenges, and support each other as they're going through the fertility journey.
Never accept the status quo. Expect better.
You're going to be okay. We have so much in front of you as far as tools and resources. If you just stay positive, work with a strong and good practice, and then we'll get you there.
Don't give up and trust your doctor. While it's super awesome to be able to take care of patients who are savvy with what you're talking about and you can have a high-level discussion, there definitely is paralysis by analysis, is what we call it, where people get over-informationalized and almost paralyzed into not making a decision. Part of your physician's job is to assimilate that in a manner that makes sense.
I am always so impressed with patients' grit and tenacity for how difficult treatment is. And I really encourage patients to think about their long-term goals and know that at the end of their journey, there will be a baby.
And find a team that you're comfortable with. Find a doctor and the nursing staff, as if you're going through, you'll realize it's so important that you feel comfortable with and feel cared for. Have a good support system around you, and just know that we really do care. We really want you to be successful, and use us as that crux as to help you get through the care, and know that we're doing everything we can to get you guys to your goals.
Honestly, reach out to your support groups. Join a support group online. There's plenty of them out there. Talk to your doctor, talk to your family, talk to your partner, but it's really important, or even a fertility counselor. There are some great people who are trained, and their job is really only to help people struggling with infertility. Finding that therapist can really make the difference.
It can be a journey and a long process, and I think it's really important for patients to know that we're there for them as their doctor and their team.
Perseverance is the best attribute one can have, because if you stick with it, you're gonna have a baby, you're gonna have a family. You wouldn't be here seeing a fertility doctor if things were easy, but it's just really perseverance is the best trait to have when going through this.
So there might be time to allow yourself to feel deeply sad or deeply frustrated. That is okay. But when you find the people that can support you, the activities that can support it, the music or the food or something that will kind of sustain you, and you make deliberate acts to kind of pursue that reviving stuff in your life, I think that hopefully can make the light on the other side a little bit more bearable.
Yeah, I think the doctors really hit it on the head there. This can be tough. Journeys can be long. There can be a lot of waiting, and there can be a lot of disappointment. But that's why these doctors do what they do. They're here for you to work through the struggles and help you get to your finish line. Remember, you and your doctor share the same goal, and never lose sight of the fact that the best source for information about your fertility is your fertility doctor. And with that, I want to thank you for listening and for being with us through another year of fertility and family building stories. 6 years of episodes seems like a lot, but I know there is still so much to cover. I want to personally thank the podcast team here at Progeny for all of the hard work that they've put in keeping the show running all year. Selena Yang, Shannon Zuber, Lou Amar, and Mei Feng, truly the best team in the business. I want to thank all of the doctors who appeared in this episode, and all of the other doctors and guests that we've worked with throughout the year. If you want to connect with us, you can do so on Instagram at This Is Infertility Podcast. You can also follow Progeny at Progeny Inc. Of course, if you're listening on a podcast app, please leave a rating and review, as that's a huge deal for us. And if you're watching on YouTube, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. This is Infertility is brought to you by Progeny. Please remember, this podcast is not intended to substitute for the personalized expert advice of your physician. I'm Dan Bolger, and this is Infertility.